This is probably the most difficult search ever undertaken.
It is going to get more difficult from here. We simply have to turn around and survey the ocean bottom to find it, which will take years.
I do not believe the plane has crashed.
On the 8th of March, a plane carrying 239 people on board took off from the Malaysian capital bound for Beijing. It was supposed to be a routine flight, but MH370 never reached its destination. It vanished without trace. Now, exactly 1 month on, despite the biggest air and sea search ever undertaken, are we any closer to solving one of the world's greatest aviation mysteries? Maybe.
Today, Chinese patrol ship Heijun 01 discovered a pulse signal with a frequency of 37.5 kHz per second at 25 degrees south latitude and 101 degrees east longitude in the southern Indian Ocean with a black box locator. It is yet to determine whether the signal is related to missing flight MH370.
This is potentially the biggest breakthrough yet in the search for the airliner. A Chinese vessel has reported locating a ping, possibly a signal from the plane's black box. Search crews were surveying areas about 1,100 miles southwest of Perth based on satellite images showing possible debris. The Chinese say they've detected a pulse just to the north, and the frequency of the pulse is 37.5 kHz, exactly what the flight data recorder should be transmitting at. If we're to learn what happened to the Malaysian Airlines plane, then its black boxes must be found. In the next 48 hours or so, the batteries that power the box's locator signals will die. When that happens, the metal case keeping the secrets of flight MH370 might never be found.
It is going to get more difficult from here. One of the things, if when the black box pinging runs out, which is actually a couple of days away, certified to, it may last 40 days. What we may then do is start an enormous international effort to actually survey the Indian Ocean floor. It was last done in 1960. It's one of the least known ocean floors in the world. It may well be they turn around and say, right, we simply have to turn around and survey the ocean bottom to find it, which will take years to do, years and years to do.
Once the batteries are exhausted, there's no sense in it provides you no information. So that's when you need to look at employing different side scan sonar systems, and that's when the search becomes incredibly slow.
Flight MH370 left the airport in Kuala Lumpur for Beijing after midnight on the 8th of March, but veered drastically off course, causing the search to begin in the South China Sea. On March the 9th, we hear reports that a Vietnamese plane has seen a flight door floating off the South Vietnam coast, but we found out soon afterwards that the object is actually flotsam. On March the 12th, evidence from a military radar forces the search area to expand towards the Malacca Strait and the Andaman Sea, where the focus on debris continues. But new information on March the 15th places the jet anywhere in one of two huge corridors of land and sea, a northern one stretching into Central Asia and a southern one deep into the Indian Ocean. On March the 20th, Australian satellite images dated 4 days earlier are released showing two objects in the southern Indian Ocean. Surveillance aircraft are dispatched to the area and they discover nothing. 2 days later, Chinese satellites spot a large object floating in the southern corridor, but a plane sent to collect it finds only clumps of seaweed and a wooden pallet. Then, on March the 23rd, French satellites detect 122 floating objects around 1,500 miles from Western Australia. But search crews from Perth fail to find any wreckage from Flight 370. More debris continues to be discovered over the next 2 days, and on March the 27th, we hear reports from Thailand of 300 floating objects taken only a day after the French discovery. But again, none were confirmed to be from the missing flight. On March the 28th and 29th, the search continues in the new area of the Indian Ocean as a Chinese plane spots 3 multiple-coloured objects. And a cluster of orange objects found by Australian pilots in the ocean on March the 31st raises hopes, but are soon revealed to be fishing equipment unconnected to the plane. So far, it's been a fruitless search marked by confusion and a lack of information. It's expected the search will continue being carried out underwater with the help of the Royal Navy's HMS Echo and nuclear-powered submarine HMS Tyrus. There's a good reason there have been so many false leads. This body of water in the southern Indian Ocean sucks in a lot of ocean junk.
Coincidentally, it appears that of the information that we know, that the middle of the ocean, where they're actually looking at the moment in the search area, is also the middle of the garbage patch. So they're looking for a system that has this sort of natural accumulation of debris as well. It's not very much. We estimate about 10 large items per square kilometre. But when you actually look at the whole area, it becomes a large number.
And this is the Australian Navy ship Ocean Shield, just one of the small armada of vessels deployed in the hunt to find conclusive proof of the airliner's fate. On board is a towed pinger locator, seen here being lowered into the Indian Ocean. Also on board the ship is a robotic submarine, the Bluefin 21, seen here being hoisted back on board the ship after an unsuccessful excursion.
Put myself in the position of any of the families, I would certainly want to know, some of the answers about MH370. Everybody is totally focused on this mission at the moment. On board the Ocean Shield at the moment, we're certainly doing all we can in the location we're at. We're running a series of parallel legs over the best constructed location of MH370's last position.
But as advanced as these crucial bits of kit are, they're rendered useless if they're deployed in the wrong location. 4 weeks on, and there's still confusion about the search area, and are the teams looking in the right place?
There's some positive sounds from the investigation team that they believe they're looking in the right place with the best information they have available to them. However, it is their best estimate. It is not a precise science at the moment.
The relentless air search is taking its toll. Every day, the aviators take to the skies to fly for hours above some of the remotest water on Earth. It's taxing work, but they know they carry the hope of hundreds of families desperate to know what has become of their loved ones.
You think about a lot of things when you're on a 5-hour visual search, on task that is, and inevitably your mind does go back to how what you're doing affects the families. And it sort of moved from the imperative of saving life initially to now the imperative of finding something so that we can solve the problem, solve the mystery, and provide closure to the families and the rest of the people that are interested in this mystery.
But despite the frustration, the search teams know they have a job to do. They'll keep going to find something, anything, to give the families hope.
I guess it's getting a little frustrating, although we are getting regular updates of information from AMSA, and I suppose for me that gives me renewed confidence that there's something in this new area to find.
Apart from the remote location, the weather has been a real challenge. Rough, turbulent water makes spotting potential debris hard enough, but then heavy cloud hampers visibility. And for an eyes-on search, it means you are literally flying blind.
Today, 11 planes will join the search mission. Weather conditions today are very good, but when we fly back, it will be a little windy. This is the search area. You can see from the satellite image that it's very cloudy near this area.
Coming up in part 2, are the Malaysian authorities hiding something? Is there a conspiracy to stop the truth about flight MH370 from coming out? The longer it takes to find flight MH370, then the truth vacuum will continue to be filled with speculation and conspiracy theories. The plane's pilot, Captain Ahmed Zahari Shah, fell under early suspicion. He has close links to the country's opposition leader. And the plane's disappearance has been connected to a deadly political protest.
Is it a crime for someone to know me? Is it a crime for someone who believes in an independent judiciary and not a corrupt, opaque system? Now, Zahari is known to me, related to my daughter-in-law. I've met him on a number of occasions and seemed to be very passionate about the democratic process, independent electoral process against the fraudulent elections in 2013.
Ibrahim Anwar insists his connection to the captain is being used as a smokescreen to divert attention away from the incompetence of the Malaysian authorities.
There is an installation called Makoni Radar System near the South China Sea, operated by the Air Force. The government till today, particularly the Ministry of Defence, have not explained why they have concealed this very vital, critical piece of information when the flight reverted into Malaysia, into the mainland, crossing 5 provinces. And there's no reason as to why they are not able to detect the flight movement. The second issue is the issue of national security. If you can allow this to happen, then it's a betrayal of the people's trust. You cannot depend on an incompetent ministry to decide and determine our own security. No, they have to explain. If they can't, then they will have to tell us why this vital piece of information is being concealed to the general public and international community. Of course, I'm very appreciative and thankful even to the Royal Navy for the efforts taken now. But the critical issues, piece of information is not explained. The system is so opaque. And anyone questioning, like me, doing so in Parliament and outside Parliament, are condemned to be politicizing or anti-national or not appreciative of the Malaysian government effort. This is utter nonsense.
Today, the Malaysian authorities responded to the speculation.
Let me touch on some unfounded allegations made against Malaysia. These allegations include the extraordinary assertion that Malaysian authorities were somehow complicit in what happened to MH370. I should like to state for the record that these allegations are completely untrue. As I've said before, the search for MH370 should be above politics. And so I call on all Malaysians to unite, to stand by our armed forces as they work in difficult conditions with their foreign counterparts, thousands of miles from home, and to support all those who are working tirelessly in the search for MH370.
It's this sort of confusion and the ensuing claim and counterclaim that has added to the turmoil for the families of the missing passengers, prompting angry scenes like this. In a search for answers, a group of Chinese relatives flew from Beijing to Kuala Lumpur, the same route in reverse that MH370 was scheduled to take exactly 4 weeks earlier.
The main purpose of our journey is to demand evidence and truth for our loved ones. We are here to see how it goes step by step, because in Beijing we're totally desperate. There's nothing coming out of Beijing.
On reaching Malaysia, more demonstrations. Some directed their anger right at the Malaysian authorities, storming one of the airline's press conferences, believing information was being withheld.
They have followed us, taking care of us very well. However, we don't need to be looked after. We need to know the truth. We need to know where the plane is. We don't need someone to look after us.
In the face of criticism over Malaysia's handling of the crisis, its Prime Minister visited Pearce Air Base in Perth in Western Australia. This has now become the international hub for the search operation. Here, he paid gratitude to some of the hundreds of men and women working to find the missing plane. The resources and assets being thrown at this mission are formidable. It's an unprecedented international response to an unprecedented crisis. But when plane after plane and ship after ship returns empty-handed, day after day, then soon questions about the sustainability of this operation will have to be asked. But for now, the Malaysian authorities refuse to place a time limit on the effort.
It's been almost a month since MH370 went missing. The search operation has been difficult, challenging and complex. But in spite of all this, our determination remains undiminished. We will continue to search with the same level of vigor and intensity. We owe this to the families on those on board and to the wider world. We will continue to focus with all our efforts on finding the aircraft.
The girlfriend of one passenger refuses to give up hope. Philip Wood, a 50-year-old American, was returning to Beijing following a business trip. He was about to leave China for good to begin a new life with Sarah Bajak. She was at home packing boxes, waiting for him to walk through the front door when she heard the news.
I do not believe the plane has crashed. I have yet to find any expert who I've talked to that off record has said that they believe the plane has crashed. Everybody believes it's been taken. I absolutely believe he's still alive. I still feel his presence. I am not a metaphysical weirdo. I'm a very grounded, practical, logical thinking person, but I still feel him in the same way I have always felt him. That has not changed. You know, I am prepared for if something else happens. If tomorrow I get the notice that they've indeed found the wreckage of the plane and Philip's body is still strapped in its seat, then I will accept that and I will move along and deal with grief in a normal grieving cycle. But this is not a normal grieving cycle. We don't have resolution and there's no proof, and everything that I've heard, both with my head and with my intuition, points that there is some other resolution. I can only do so much to impact the situation at this point, and the little I can do is to have an ongoing conversation with media and to continue to drive forward the social media efforts of getting individuals to engage through the Finding Philip Wood Facebook page and things. But the other side of my feeling is of an increasing level of anxiety that we don't have any further progress on this. I mean, it's been closing in on 4 weeks, and we actually don't know for sure anything different than what we knew on the 8th. We really don't. And I think we need a few more truth seekers right now and a little less jump on the bandwagon from our governments and, frankly, in some ways, even our media. There's no logical explanation to support that this plane was taken only to drop it into the water. There's none. There's no evidence. They've found hundreds of pieces of debris. None of them are related to the plane. You know, more and more we have to be a little realistic here that says there's got to be another path that was taken.
Sarah's heartache is shared by hundreds of other families waiting for news of their loved ones. In all, the passenger manifest included 12 crew and 227 passengers from 14 different countries, including New Zealand, Australia, Iran, America, and Indonesia. 2/3 of the passengers were from China. Among the passengers, 43-year-old father of two, Nikolai Brodsky from Russia, a professional diver and athlete, He had travelled from Indonesia on a diving holiday with colleagues and was making his way home when the flight went missing. Also Swanand Kolekar, a 23-year-old from Mumbai. He was travelling with his mother and father to Beijing to attend his older brother's degree ceremony. Their eldest son waited at the airport for them for several hours. Rodney and Mary Burrows were one of 6 Australians flying on the plane and had been flying to Beijing with another Australian couple. A friend of theirs said they had planned the trip following Rodney's redundancy the previous year. 4 weeks of false leads and 4 weeks of dashed hopes. Now a faint ping in the darkest, deepest depths of the southern Indian Ocean. Could this finally be the breakthrough that will help to solve the mystery of Flight MH370?